Good day. Today I'm going to show you how to factorize quadratic trinomials using a shortcut. This shortcut is going to help you save time. If you are planning to pursue science or engineering courses like mathematics or engineering, this method is going to help you until matric. However, in university they do not allow you to use a calculator, so because of that fact, you have to learn the long cut on how to factorize this thing, how to actually factorize this thing. The video of the long cut on how to factorize quadratic trinomials is found at the end of this video, and it's also found right here at the suggested video on the top right of the screen. So you are given this stuff. So you will use the quadratic formula in the calculator without even writing it down, and you'll get your answers as x is equals to 2 or x is equals to 3. So what you will do is that you will take this to the other side so that we can be left with 0, so that we can have equals to 0. So your goal is to get it to be equals to 0. So we'll take the 2 to the other side so that it can be equals to 0. And then you'll do the same thing with this one. You'll take 3 to the other side so that it's going to be equals to 0. So we'll have x minus 3 is equals to 0. And then what you do after having this stuff is that you'll take this and you'll just copy it into the bracket. And then you'll also take this as well and copy it into the bracket. So there we have it. It now looks as though we factorized. So then we can proceed and say x is equals to 2 or x is equals to 3. So you have pretended as though you have factorized, while in essence you didn't factorize, you just used the calculator. Alright, let's go to the next level. Alright, here is our second example. So you will use the quadratic formula again. When you type the quadratic formula in the calculator, you'll end up having x is equals to 3 over 2 or x is equals to 1. So when you have this stuff, what you'll do is we've got a little bit of a problem. We've got a fraction. So what do you do when you've got a fraction? When you've got a fraction, you'll just make x to be over 1 so that it's also a fraction. And then you'll cross multiply. So when we multiply 2 times x, we'll have 2x. And then we'll multiply 1 and 3. We'll have 3. And then it's back to the same form as this one. So what we'll do is that you'll take this to the other side of the equation. Then it's going to be 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. And then we've got, you take that to the other side as well. So you'll end up having x minus 1. You actually end up having x minus 1 is equals to 0. So our goal is just to have it as equals to 0. Once it's equals to 0, you just copy it and put it in the brackets. So therefore you'll have 2x minus 3. And then you'll have x minus 1. And there we have it. We have pretended as though we have factorized it. So this formula is so simple to a point whereby you reach a level whereby when you use it a lot, you reach a level whereby you don't even need to write anything down. Just by typing in the calculator, you already know what will appear in brackets. So then you'll proceed to say 2x is equals to 3. X will be equals to 3 over 2. And then we're going to end up having, and this side is going to be x is equals to 1. So there we have it. We have pretended as though we have factorized, while we have just used the calculator in essence. Alright, here is the third situation. So you have to be careful whenever we've got negative in front of x squared. Whenever we've got negative in front of x squared, you cannot just factorize like that when you're using the shortcut. So what you'll do is that you'll just divide everything by negative 1. So then this is going to just become positive 10x squared minus, so it's going to be plus 11x. So this is going to become positive 10x squared plus 11x minus 6 equals to 0. So we've got our new equation. Then we can now factorize this stuff. So when we use the quadratic formula in the calculator, we'll end up having x is equals to 3 over 2, or x is equals to minus 2 over 5. So we've got two fractions. So remember, when you have a fraction, you just make it over 1. So then we'll have 2 times x, which will be 2x, and we'll have 1 times 3, which will be 3. And when you take this to the other side of the equation, we'll have 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. And then let's deal with this one as well. So then we'll have over 1. So then 5 times x is 5x, and then 2 times, or 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Then we have to take this to the other side of the equation. Then we'll end up having 5x plus 2, because it was negative, it will become plus 2 is equals to 0. So now we have got these two things equals to 0, so we can just copy and paste in the bracket. So therefore this is going to be 2x minus 3, and this side is going to be 5x plus 2. So there we have it. We have pretended as though we have factorized, while this in essence we didn't factorize. All we did was to use the quadratic formula and to substitute. So then let's proceed from here. So then this is going to be 2x is equals to 3. Therefore, we can say x is equals to 3 over 2, or 5x is equals to minus 2. Therefore, we can say x is equals to minus 2 over 5. All right, let me bring you to my final example. So here is our final example. So what you have to be careful of in this case is that we don't have an equal sign. So in this case, we don't have equals to 0. So we don't have an equal sign. So usually when we've got a negative in front of x squared, we usually divide by negative. But in this case, we cannot divide by negative because we don't have equals to 0. Whenever we've got an equation, let's just say something like this. We are allowed to even multiply both sides. We can even multiply both sides by 2. We're allowed to do that. We're allowed to multiply both sides by 2 because it's an equation. An equation is something with an equal sign. So it's an equation. But whenever we don't have an equal sign, it means we don't have an equation. So we cannot multiply or divide. So what do you do when you've got a negative sign when there is no equal sign? Whenever there is a negative sign and there is no equal sign, if there is an equal sign, you will divide by -1. But if there is no equal sign, you will not divide by -1. This is important because it comes out like this in trig. So what do you do? If there is no equal sign, you cannot divide by -1. But what you can do is that you can factorize -1. So you will factorize -1. So you will just factorize -1 and open brackets. Then you will just divide this by -1. I can put 1 here, but there is no use of putting 1. In order not to confuse a lot of people, I will just put -1, but there is no need to put -1. You can just write negative. So you factorize -1, and then what you'll do is that you'll divide this. So -2x squared divided by -1 is 2x squared, and then -5x divided by -1 is, or rather positive 5x divided by -1 is -5x, and then 3 divided by -1 is -3. So that's what we have in brackets. So what you will do when there's no equal sign is that you will factorize negative. So you just factorize negative and you just write the rest in brackets with opposite signs, so with different signs than what they had before. And then from here, now whatever is in the bracket, we can now factorize it using our normal way. So you will just type this into the quadratic formula. And when you type this into the quadratic formula in the calculator, you will get x is equals to 3, or x is equals to -half. That's what you'll get. So in this case, this is easy to deal with. We'll just take it to the other side of the equation and make it equals to 0. As for this is a fraction, so we have to make x also a fraction. So then we'll say 2 times x, this is going to be 2x. 1 times -1 is going to be -1. And then from there, we can now take this to the other side of the equation. So therefore, we're going to end up having 2x plus 1, because it was -1, equals to 0. So then we can now copy and paste. So we still have this negative over there. So we're going to now have x minus 3. And then this side, we're going to have 2x plus 1. So there we have it. We cannot go further and say x is equals to 3 and stuff, because it's not equals to 0. So in this case, all we can do is to factorize. So whenever there is an equal sign, you can solve for x. But if there is no equal sign, all you can do is to factorize. So there we have it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Any question you've got, please comment below, or any video you want me to make, please comment below. Just before I continue, If you want to be tutored, whether it is online or physically, whether it is the situation where you're struggling in maths or whether it is the situation where you're good in maths but want perfection, take a screenshot or save these details. Whether you're studying Cambridge, which is the UK curriculum, or whether you're studying NSC, which is the South African curriculum, or IEB, or native courses which start from N1 to N6, or any curriculum you're doing no matter which country you're at, we offer tutorials. We've got lessons and practice sessions 5 days a week. We also give you tests once a week so that we can check your improvements. Just before I continue, if you want to be tutored, whether it is online or physically, whether it is the situation where you're struggling in maths or whether it is the situation where you're good in maths but want perfection, take a screenshot or save these details. Whether you're studying Cambridge, which is the UK curriculum, or whether you're studying NSC, which is the South African curriculum, or IEB, or native courses which start from N1 to N6, or any curriculum you're doing no matter which country you're at, we offer tutorials. We've got lessons and practice sessions 5 days a week. We also give you tests once a week so that we can check your improvements.